Hello and welcome to buckmansmodelmania. Today we're going to be working a little bit more on the Muscongus Bay Lobster Smack. From now on, I'm just going to call it the Smack because saying that every time I mention it is going to get really drawn out. But no, we're going to be proceeding on. And right now, what I've done is I've followed the steps from basically steps 1 through 8. And one of the things I did was follow their suggestion. I took I have a little table saw, and I took and cut the corner off here of the keel sheet. Always save your wood. Don't throw it away until you're done with the project, and then save it for another project because you never know when you're going to need it. But what I did was, what their suggestion was to cut this corner off. Right there. You cut the corner off, and what that does is that gives you a square to make sure that things are square. I have other ways of doing that. I've got the 1, 2, 3 blocks up here, which I highly suggest if you're going to be doing a lot of wood modeling, get them. I haven't used them much, but I can see exactly how useful they'll be. Plus, weight-wise, if you're trying to hold something down, especially a piece of wood, if you're trying to bend a piece of wood without wetting it while you glue it, these will hold it down for the most part. So, what they had us do was you go and you cut out the keel, you cut out the deck. Out of the deck, you cut out the cockpit floor. Those are, and then you, on top of that, you also cut everything out of die 2 here. So that is all of, it's your transom and then all of your bulkheads. You do some work on your bulkheads, on all of the parts, anywhere where you cut it. Come on, there you go. Right there you can see that little notch there. I sanded everywhere where there's the part where I cut it away from the rest of the wood. Did that to make sure that everything will fit smoothly. You don't always have to, but the best thing is to take a sanding block or a sanding stick, and highly recommend, if you're going to do wood modeling, get a sanding block like this. I recently got it, had never had one before, and I am like, this is amazing. And I actually have strip sandpaper that I've had for years. But so you sand all the nubs off, and then you glue F1T to F1. You cut this piece of strip here to a little bit larger to F2. F3, you cut a small piece here using, with their suggestion, using your little corner piece that you cut to make sure that it's level, because this is what your deck is going to sit on. And then F4, all you do is sand the nubs off. I also did the nubs, as Ola did, in the notches. So that's where I'm up to now. I did some dry fitting. Go ahead and put the hull up here. Put the deck up here. Did some dry fitting, and I found that the F1, and looking at the instructions, F1, or what was it? The part you glued to the front of F1 goes to the front. F1 was a little bit snug. It went down, but it took some effort, and it took some effort to get it back out because I hadn't glued it yet. F2, I got it started, and it would not go very far in, and I was worried I was going to actually break the wood. So I got it back out, and both of these, I took the sanding stick that came with the toolkit that came with this kit, and I sanded these open a little bit so that the parts will now slide in and out correctly. Again, this thickening portion of the bulkhead goes to the front. This strip here goes to the back per the instructions. So, and then I dry fit them, and always, even though I don't always do it, dry fit your parts. F3 slides on here, but F3 is actually a little bit loose. You can see that gap there. I know that some people are in this build, they are adding a little shim of wood in there. I'm not going to, because once you put F3 and F4 in, making sure that they are straight and level using either the 1, 2, 3 blocks or the shim piece here that they had us cut out, you're going to put the deck in, and that will actually hold F3 pretty much in place. You know, it's going to have a little bit of play. F4, when it stays in place, should hold it. Might need to shim it a little bit. I don't think I will. Like I said, it's a small gap. You see a small gap right there, but it's not too bad. So let me go ahead and see, even now, this is snug. Pop these out. I'm going to take the glue, and there are multiple ways to do this. I usually just apply the glue straight to the parts. I know that a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll use a brush to brush it in there. To each their own. Do it the way you see fit, the way it works for you. I'm going to go ahead and set these blocks in here so that they'll hold the keel upright. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue along here, and I am one of those people that I tend to over glue. As long as it's not going to be visible, I don't worry about it too much. But I got some glue up there along the top. Probably should have done this part first. And then I'm going to put some glue here where the parts edges are going to come together, or where they're going to hit the side of the keel, and I'm going to put a little drop of glue right in there. That should glue everything in place. So we'll just slide this down here, and you see there, right there, you can see what I'm talking about. I tend to overglue, but it's not that big a deal. Once you get the parts pushed together, you can come back with, you know, paper towel, whatever, to get into this area, and you can spread the glue down a little bit. It's not going to be visible, and it's going to add strength. I think they actually say to run a bead of glue down along the inside of these parts once they're in place. So let me set that down, and then to make sure it's square, push the blocks up against it. Let it dry. I did notice this piece, the first bulkhead here, does slant a little bit forward. So all you're really looking for is it to be perpendicular, and you can also double check that with your square here. You can double check both sides, but it should only matter on one side, because if one side's square, the other should be. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera here, take care of the rest of the bulkheads, and I'll come back when I'm ready to put in the cockpit floor. I'll see you in a few minutes. A few minutes for me, instantaneous for you. Okay, the first two bulkheads are done. Third one has been sitting here drying for a while, and it should be, and it is, firmly in place. So now the fourth one is going to be a little bit trickier because there's nothing to support it. It can sit there and flop pretty well. So I'm going to see. Yeah, these blocks are too long, or too, other than the 1-inch side, they would not fit to hold this part, the part in place. Clean the glue off the tip. So we're going to put some glue on here. And we're going to put this part in here. You might notice occasionally that there are pencil marks on most of the parts. That is because I always mark my parts to make sure that I don't confuse which ones are which. So that should be square. And it is. Double check on both sides. Oops, put the top back on the glue. Disconnect the glue from the spare piece of wood there. I'll put that back in the box. And then the next thing, well, and that is up through stage 11, or step 11, cockpit. Well, actually that's up through step 10. Step 11, we then will put the cockpit floor in. In step 10 though, once everything's aligned and dried, you apply a bead of glue to the joint between each frame and keel. So I'll be applying a bead of glue in each corner once this is set up a little bit. After that, we'll come back and we'll work on step 11. So I'll be back in a flash. Okay, it has been about 5 to 10 minutes, whoops, since I set this in place, and everything is firmly set. So the next thing we do is we take our floor and we set it in here, and the instructions say to set it firmly between the two parts. Only problem is it does not fit firmly between the two bulkheads. Come on, focus. There is a little bit of a gap there. It shouldn't be an issue. Let's take we're going to take the main deck. We're going to take a look. So that's going to curve. Oh, that's not going to curve. That's going to go on there like that. And it looks like, and this is one of the spots where I was saying earlier that those blocks will come in handy. This will work really well. Those blocks will work really well to make the deck sit down on there, because you can see it's curved. But what I'm doing here is I'm making sure to see which is going to be more visible, the front or the back end. It looks like the front is going to be more visible. Don't know for sure, but that's my gut feel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this closer to the front than the back. But before I do that, turn it back over. Get my pencil, and what I want to do is I want to make sure that I center this as best I can. And I'm doing it on this side because that's the side that says floor. And I'm looking. I know it's around here somewhere. There it is. I sat it over on a different part of the bench, but what I want to do is I want to take this and I'm going to measure it. Let's see if we can get it better. I want to measure, and this is it's just not it's not coming up as a very straightforward measurement. What I always do when I measure is I start somewhere at a mark so I can see. So we've got 1, 2 1/4 inches, so we go 1 1/8 this end, and we'll look on this side, and it looks like it is about 1 1/8, so, or 1 1/4, so we want to go right there, which is about 5/8. And what I'm going to do to make sure is I'm actually going to take one of my take my angled piece here and lay it flat against the mark there and the back end. That's not flat. Actually, we'll go from the larger side. Lay it flat on here just to make sure that looks like it is about right. So I'll take my straight edge. I'll draw this mark across. And then just to be sure that it is the same distance on either side, I will take my calipers. Not a tool you have to have, a tool that it's nice to have. It's really good if you need to, if you want to make sure the distance is the same. So double check on this side, that's roughly the same distance. We're tighten it down here. This is the one I was more concerned with. And that's roughly the same distance. So should be good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, when I lay it in here, I'm going to put it in from the top. You won't be able to see the mark, but if I turn it over, the line will disappear behind the bulkhead, or behind the keel. Lost my mind there for a second, but it'll disappear behind the keel. I can make sure also by looking front and back, looking this direction here. I can double check and make sure these are the same distance before, and then glue it in. And it looks like one of them might be slightly off. That shouldn't matter. Once I get this, once it's glued to this bracing here and back here, actually looks worse from that side. What I'm going to do is that once it's on there, I'll run a bead of glue in here. Speaking of which, I have yet to run my bead of glue on each of these. So let me do that. I'll come back, put the deck in place, and the cockpit floor in place. We'll come back, we'll do the transom. Just looking at it, it does actually have us go as far. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to put the transom in. Deck, we're not going to do today, but that's once we put the transom in, that's where I will stop the video, because that's as far as Ola got in her video, or in her live stream. So I'll be right back when I'm ready to put the deck in, or I mean not the deck, but the cockpit floor. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've done the bead inside of the inside of each of the, or shall we say between the keel and the each of the bulkheads. What I just noticed a bunch of excess glue right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put a bead of glue along the spine, along the top of the keel. And by the way, that gap is still there. Might be the reason that the parts are not exactly correct, but I think it'll be okay. Put a bead of glue along the spine there, and then we're going to put a bead of glue along the back here, and a bead of glue along the front. Could be front and back. I could have them reversed. And then we're going to take this, drop it on the mat, and put glue on the mat. it'll come off with soap and water. But we're going to set it on here carefully, lining up the line like that. And then I'm going to make sure by eyeballing it, the distance here and here are basically the same. You can also take the caliper again, double check. That looks about right. Maybe just a hair over. But to me that looks like it's centered. And then I'm going to run a bead. Whoops, got more glue there than I wanted to. I'm going to run a bead right here. And what I'm going to do to clean this up is once the glue has dried completely, I will sand anything that needs to be sanded there. That should dry fine. I've already done the line, split the transom. Okay, so lay the ruler across the notches of the transom, make a pencil mark halfway, measure distance between the notches, make same measurement on the top corners, align the ruler with 2 pencil marks, draw the line. Basically, that's what I've already done here. So then we're going to take the transom, and it goes up on the top part here. So apply a bead of glue to the rear edge of the keel. Using your square, position the transom so that the keel is centered on the pencil line. The transom is also to be positioned so that it extends slightly above and below the keel as shown in the illustration. So it's going to stick up a little bit here, down a little bit there. We're going to apply this like this, something like that right there. And then I'll make sure with the square that it is square and hold it in position. So I may have to actually cut a portion out of the video because I don't think you want to watch me sit there and hold that. But we shall see, because this glue actually does catch pretty quick. So we're going to put it like that. And see, it's actually already holding it in place. And I'm going to use my eyes to double check everything. That's the thing you have to do with this as well, because my line is slightly off. Sorry, I'm concentrating here. I want to make sure that's as straight as possible. Actually, I want that line to show up at the top. Might have been better if I put the line on the outside. So I'm going to look at it from the outside and just see. That should be good, and if it's not, I can use heat to release it and move it if needed later on. So now I'm going to set this between the blocks to let everything set in place. Everything should be good, and that's where we're going to end this video. So hope you're enjoying this. It's going to be an interesting build because I've never done a group build with a wooden boat. Never done a boat like this before. I'm looking forward to continuing on with it. Kind of like how it's going so far. Just looking at further along in the instructions. If you are enjoying this, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you're not enjoying it, let me know. You know, I've found that my wooden ship builds, my wooden boats, especially the smaller ones like this, tend to get a lot more views. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, hit the bell icon to be notified of when I post new content. Leave a comment. Like I said, I will answer. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Have a great day. Have a great day tomorrow. And I will see you in the next video or stream.
Buckman's Model Mania, hard work models, plastic modeling, wooden models. Buckman's Model Mania, hard work models, plastic modeling, wooden models.